guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So just here for another one of our mass making workshops, and what I thought we could make today is some of Amy from Crafty Cat's, her lovely double envelopes. So if you haven't seen them before, I will try and remember to link Amy's channel to this video. If for any reason I forget, because I am absolutely rubbish at doing things like that, then please just, comment below and I will then add the link. But if you haven't seen them, basically what she does is she's just got this ingenious idea of tucking two envelopes in together. If I just kind of show you like this, I mean not quite like this, but I'll show you in more detail in a minute. And then obviously these can be then stitched into your signature, and she covers this section up so that you've actually got, then you snip the side off and you've got your pockets there. So they're a little bit fiddly to make, so just an ideal thing to have on hand ready made, because obviously, if you're making them per journal, they are a little bit time consuming. So what I have brought along today to do this project is a variety of envelopes. Now obviously for each piece that you make, you're going to need two envelopes, so it's quite heavy on the envelope stash, so you're going to need quite a few envelopes. And obviously I've got my glue, I've got my scissors, and then what you're also going to need is some paper that you're going to cover up one side, if that makes sense. So that, I think, is all you're going to need. And of course, obviously then if you're wanting to decorate your piece, or finish your piece off by decorating it, then by all means bring along some lace, some bits and bobs to decorate. So I will do obviously one or two with you guys, talking you through so that you see exactly what we're doing, and then I will obviously be quiet and well, I won't be quiet, but I know I say all this every week, it's pretty dull, but you know what I mean. Right, so here I've got these two, they're square envelopes. I don't actually know what size they are, but they may be 6 by 6 or maybe 7 by 7 or something. But I do know that they just happen to be longer than half an A4 page, i.e. an A5 page, if you see what I mean. So what I would have to do, if I just bring in, I have to excuse my sort of scraps of paper here that I'm just using to demonstrate, but if I just show you, so this is kind of half an A4 page. As you can see, that envelope is longer than that page. I hope this is all showing okay, through the camera. So that's longer than that page. So I just need to be mindful of that with these particular envelopes, because what I want to do is then cut them down much smaller so that they're going to fit into a journal if they were stitched in, if that makes sense. I think they're the only ones that I've got that problem with. The others I think would all be absolutely fine and would fit, perfectly fine anyway. So all you're going to do is open your envelopes up and basically run your glue around, whatever glue that you're using. Go up to your flap here, lots of glue like this, and then we can just tuck that inside. I mean, I find this quite fiddly, but that might just be me, because I do find anything a little bit like this, a bit fiddly. So you maybe are not finding this as fiddly as I am. I mean, straight away I'm not quite able to line that up, so doesn't bode well, does it? This is our first one. If you have this, you might be better off just taking it out and literally starting again, starting putting it in again, because sometimes it's just tricky to get it quite at the right angle. So like that, and don't worry too much. I mean, as you can see, my envelope's now looking a bit tatty, but that's fine, because that's obviously the inside. Nobody's actually going to see that, so it really doesn't matter too much. So I'm just going to flatten that down here, and then on that side. Okay, so that's your basic or basis for your little piece there. And then all you're going to do, oops, I must have not quite got that quite right, but never mind, is glue then your other flap down on the back. So again, lots of glue so it's properly popped down. So Amy, if you happen to catch this video, thank you so much for this wonderful idea. I have made a couple of these before and had them in my journals. But like with all these things, you forget what you've done really. So when I was trying to think what else we could do for our mass makes, this just happened to, you know, spring into my mind, and I thought, oh, you know, fantastic idea. Right, now if you can see here, I've mucked this up a little bit. So all I'm going to do is snip that piece of the envelope off. So if you have anything like that happen, you know, don't worry about it. It's all going to be fine. Once your piece is, you know, assembled, it would be absolutely fine. Right. So then all I'm going to do now is take some background page to cover up basically these open envelopes, because that's how you make your pocket. But as I say, because this one is actually longer than my A4 page, if I just bring that back in, then all I'm going to do here is cut this down. And the reason I'm doing this first is because there's no point gluing my paper on where it doesn't need to be glued, if that makes sense. Or more importantly, not gluing it down where it does need to be glued. So that's that, and I just trim it down here at this side as well. Just because I have not cut it very straight. I still haven't cut it very straight, but I mean, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. And obviously this was a bit worse to do because I was actually, you know, trimming it right in, so I didn't have the envelope side for a guide. So I'm just going to take this. Now, this is just regular copy paper, so I'm not 100% sure how rigid and brilliant this is going to be. But, you know, we can give it a try and just see how it sort of turns out, really. So all I'm going to do is run my glue down. Now, what I'm going to do is just stick those little flat bits down first, because they're those sides of the original envelope flap, if that makes sense. So I just stick those down, and then I'm just going to run my glue down there, and then along here, all around, like that. And then basically you're going to avoid this point because you don't want to actually glue that bit down. So all you're actually then going to do is glue around your, and I just noticed that's kind of coming up a bit. You're going to glue around your the outer piece of the envelope, if that makes sense, because this inside is going to be a pocket, so you don't want to glue in this triangle type area. So I'm just going to take my sheet of paper and just pop that on like that. And obviously again, you can trim this down afterwards, so you really don't have to be too fussy about it. So we just put that down like that. And then I'm just going to trim it down here at the side, along the edge. And down there. Obviously you just want to be careful that you don't snip into your envelope. If you do, don't worry too much, because you can always obviously glue your envelope down, you know, on the sides. I mean, I'm sure that I'm not alone in having done that in the past myself. You know, or I like to think I'm not alone. I'm sure we've all done similar-ish things at times. So, I mean, don't panic if you snip into your envelope. But so as you can see now, you've got this wonderful pocket, and this can be stitched into your signature. So for me, I quite like then, obviously, the matchy-matchy thing. So I'm going to match it up by obviously doing exactly the same paper, whoops, on the other sort of side. So again, I'm going to start by sticking this flap down either side, like that. And then exactly the same, so you want to go all the way around, and then, you know, close-ish to that fold, like that, up the other side, edge. And then I'm just doing this because my envelope seems a little bit baggy there, so you know, you might not have to do that little bit. And then lots of glue all over the envelope itself. And then we just pop that again just over there. Excuse my head if my head got in the way. It's really hard to see when you're trying to line this up. So I'm obviously trying to keep my head out of the way as much as I can, but it does become sort of difficult to see sometimes. So again, I mean, I just like to use my card there as a spreader. That's it. And then just trim that down. Like that. And I mean, obviously, you know, this would be really nice if you were using coffee dyed envelopes. I mean, obviously, as you can see, my envelopes are just white. But I mean, it's not a problem because once we decorate it up, the white would effectively be covered up anyway. So that's my first one. And as you can see, we've got two big pockets here then. Oops, glued this one down. Right. Two big pockets, one there, and obviously one there. So that's our first one. I will talk you through again the second one, just in case it was, you know, clear as mud the first time. So these are the same envelopes. Well, actually, these are two different ones, but they're the same size. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing again, in that I'm going to just stick this inside there. So again, just glue all around that flap, and you just want to go up to that fold line like that. Plenty of glue on there, and then we just pop that inside here. I mean, this is the bit that I find very tricky. I have seen other people do this and actually not find it tricky at all. So when I said I'm, you know, I find this tricky, probably, you know, probably lots of people don't, but for me, I do find this very tricky. So tricky, fiddly. No, I'm going to have to start again. Some envelopes are worse than others. This envelope that I'm putting in is quite robust. It's quite a thick envelope, but the one that I'm sticking it into is quite a flimsy one. And the first two that I did were quite flimsy. And I think the flimsy ones are much worse to work with, I have to say. That's my excuse. Right, so again, just turn your envelope over, and then you're just going to glue that back flap down like that. Okay, and then we just spread that out like that. And that's it. That's the basis of your little foldy pocket thing. You know, that, as I say, that can then be stitched into your signature. It doesn't have to be stitched into your signature. Of course, you could have it as like a float-in piece if you know, if you wanted to do that instead. So I'm just going to just glue these little flaps down and then decide which paper I want to use for the you know, covering this part of the envelope up. And again, I mean, you maybe would like to just make your foundation piece, i.e. this, and not put your paper down here, because then you could, you know, marry your paper up as you fancy when you come to use it. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking this is hopefully quite a time efficient thing to do, but I don't know, you know, you might be better off actually having it sort of plainer. So I'm just rummaging through my little selection of papers here, deciding which paper to use. So I've got some of those freebie background papers there, so I might just do those, I think, or I've got another one of those. Maybe I will use this. I was keeping this for something else, but I think I will use this. Oops, and you know what I've forgotten to do? I haven't trimmed this down, because again, this is that one that's obviously too big for an A4. So I'm just going to trim it down roughly at the side. Just obviously hope for the best that that's now similar size. Yeah. Doesn't matter if it's slightly smaller, you just don't want it slightly bigger is, you know, is the thing there. Let's just have a look and see what I've got here. I've also got some sheet music, which would obviously be fantastic. So perhaps I will use the sheet music. I wonder if I can get that out of both of those. Yeah, I think I can. So let's use the sheet music for this. Oops, for this one. Mainly the reason I'm kind of in a quandary is because I've got a few thicker sheets of paper here to use, and because these envelopes are quite flimsy, they might not appreciate having thicker pages as the inside pocket, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to keep those for when I'm making some in a minute with some thicker envelopes. So there we go. I'll just pop my sheet music down. So just pop that down there. Okay. And then just trim that off at the back, and hopefully I've got enough to do this side as well. Only just, look at that. Just literally fits there. That was just lucky, wasn't it? Okay. So we'll just come down here. Okie dokie. Just, this one's got a little bit of that flap coming undone there. I mean, for no reason other than the fact that, I mean, envelopes, you know, I guess once they're a little bit older, the glue sort of begins to come away and then they just lift slightly. Right, excuse my head, I'm afraid, again. So, there we go. Wow, that really was a tight squeeze, wasn't it, getting both of those covered out of that one piece. And look, it only just literally is over on the edges as well, so that was really, really lucky. So I'm just going to trim that off down here on the edge. Like that. Okay. Okay, so that's another one done. And I'm going to leave them drying open. The reason being because I don't really want to close them up, because just in case there's any glue here, they'd kind of, you know, stick shut. And as you can see, this obviously was not quite long enough here, but that's fine, because once we distress ink and things, that will all be covered up and, you know, disguised. So don't worry too much if things aren't looking 100% perfect. So these are hopefully a bit more robust now, these envelopes, and I've got sort of a few different sizes. So got these tiny ones here. So clearly these, you know, don't need trimming down with regards to fitting in an A4 journal, because they are now, you know, they're small enough to fit in. So I'm just going to tuck that flap in there like that. Like that, and then, oops. Oh, come on. And then that one, just like that. Okay. Yeah, these are just brilliant. So genius, Amy. Really, really like them. I liked them on the old couple of times that I have used them, and yeah, liking them again now. Lots of possibilities with these. You know, this one obviously that we're not having to trim down this way. You could stick your piece down and have like open pockets at the top. You know, for a change, for a difference. So you've got lots of possibilities, I think, with these, which is really nice. So I wonder, no, I'm not going to be able to get that out of that. No, I don't know if I can get those out of that. I have got some spotty here. I'm going to use the spotty, I think. So again, I mean, actually I should try and get in the mode of gluing these little, you know, I hope that this is coming across what I'm actually doing here. You know, those like bits from the inside of the envelopes, I'm just sticking those down, because if I didn't stick these down separately and I just stuck my piece of paper over, like basically over here and then there, it wouldn't necessarily be stuck down at the corners. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So that's why I'm doing those separately. And then just glue, oops, glue all around like that. Okay. Take my sheet there, pop that in there like that. Get my card. I mean, again, you don't obviously have to spread it with the card. I mean, I just find that really helpful. You know, for me, I find that really a good way to get it to spread properly. But of course, do what you need to do. Again, just trim that down. I mean, in fact, here we've got obviously this side. So what you could do is bend that up straight away, and then that's a little pocket on the back. So, you know, you really have got a lot of different options. So I might do that. I'm just going to have a think about it while I glue the other side. So we just pop the glue on this side. And you don't have to do it on both, you know, both sides just because you're doing it on this side. If you were putting that flap there, just play around and see what you fancy doing most. But that's what I say with these. I think these have got lots of possibilities to do a whole bunch of different stuff. And again, I mean, just because I've used them stitched into a signature, and I think that's how Amy had used them. She's probably used them lots of times, but the, you know, the one that I really saw her use, she'd stitched it in. But you know, you don't have to stitch them in. You could use them just as a little fold, you know, clip-in piece. So again, I'm just going to trim that down the side. Right, I've mucked this one up quite a bit. So, right, what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm not going to have that. Or do I want it as a pocket? Do I? Oh, perhaps I will. Yeah, perhaps I will. So, yeah, I'm going to have that as a pocket, I think. So what I'm going to do is cover that with some book page first. So if I just bring some book page in. Okay. So we can just literally pop that down there like that. I might as well just glue that down on the whole thing, because then I don't really have to worry too much. So there we go, like that, and just pop that down. Like that. And then again, just use my card to spread that out a bit. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to fold it and then tear it off across the bottom. And then I can obviously pop my pocket up like that. So again, I just glue that down at the sides. Pop a bit more glue on there because I've got to trim that side down on there. Okay, so then I'm just going to trim this down slightly at the side to open that pocket out. Okie dokie. Okay, so that's my side pocket and my obviously front pocket on there, and then on this side I'm going to do exactly the same. So again, we're just going to glue this one down here like that. I'm just going to go making sure that that's glued down there. And lots of glue again all over. And then we're just going to pop that one in there. Oops, like that. Okay. And we're just going to tear this section off at the bottom, and then exactly the same as we did on the other side, we're just going to fold these little flaps up like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim this down at the side, and I'm going to try and open this one at the top. So we've got like a top loading, I've got a side loading pocket here, and then hopefully we can just trim down the top of this one. So really super close to the top we just want to go. Oops. You know, because you're just wanting to do like the most titchy sliver, just enough to get that envelope to open, which I just need to take a fraction more off. There we go. Again, I've actually glued that down a little bit, so let me just lift that slightly. Okay. So for this one, and I'm just going to tidy it up here, because this is not helping because I have obviously cut this while it's still wet. So I'm just going to pop a little bit more glue in to make sure that's glued down. Yeah, so I mean, it would probably be more successful doing this obviously when it was dry, but that's a little top pocket there and then a side pocket there. So I have to say, having done this, the side pockets obviously work much better because they're a full pocket. The top pocket, if you can see, because we've obviously glued down the side, it's not a full width pocket, if that makes sense. So I would probably not bother doing that. I would probably just go with the side pockets, but you know, play around and see what you like best, you know, because it's nice to have options. So again, I'm going to leave that open so that it's all gluing down nicely and hopefully not getting stuck together. I should really check that I'm in frame and that I'm filming, to be honest, because I haven't checked that at all this whole video yet. Oh my gosh, up to 30 minutes, would you believe? These are obviously very fiddly for me because I've done like 3, I think. That's all I've done. Right, let's get a couple of regular size envelopes going on, and hopefully these are not going to be too fiddly, because these are pretty, you know, they're pretty sturdy, so hopefully these will be a bit less fiddly to make. So hopefully I can get another couple made at least before we decorate one. I mean, things like this, personally, you know, although I don't appear to have made many, these are just the type of thing that I like to have mass made, because obviously these are the types of things that really hold me up if I'm making a journal, because they're obviously taking me such a long time to make. If I were making these then individually per journal, this would be quite a protracted process. So for me, this is an ideal thing to actually have on hand, ready made. Anyway, enough rambling on about what we're doing. Yeah, so I hope that everyone's having a good day. Hope you're getting some crafting done. Hope you're you know, getting some good mass making done if you're joining in. And, you know, you might be mass making something else. You might not necessarily be mass making the same thing as I am. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I really do view this time as my, you know, hour a week of just knuckle down and kind of mass make some stuff. You know, like a sort of productive time. So yeah, it's quite handy. Quite handy. And actually, before I go, I must try and remember, because a couple of people asked me, did I have any storage suggestions, you know, for our little sort of fabric banners that we made. And at the time, I really hadn't kind of thought of any way that I was actually going to store my own. But I have decided now to store mine. I've bought some pins, you know, for a pin board. And I've only pinned one up so far, because I've got a pin board that I had used previously for other things, but I'm either going to pin them onto that, or I thought what would be quite nifty is just using a wooden hanger and your drawing pins, and literally drawing pin, you know, along the length of the hanger, or all of your paper clips. No, not paper clips, your fabric banners. Right, just in case that didn't come across very well, because I got confused with Hannah and banner and hanger and goodness only knows what, but okay, let's rephrase what I was trying to say. So what I thought you could do, excuse the back of this, this is obviously where I've been printing out my printables whilst I'm, you know, playing around trying to get them right. Right, what I was trying to explain was, I need to get a wooden hanger. I don't have a wooden hanger, so I need to either go to like IKEA or somewhere that sells them, or maybe, you know, maybe I could even get some at a charity shop. And basically, I mean, actually what I thought I'd really like is those, you know, wooden hangers, but for trousers, because they're sort of completely square. And then all I'm proposing to do is, with my banners, literally drawing pin them along a hanger. So then my hanger can just hang over my door handle of my room, and literally they'll be neat and tidy on there. They won't really drop off, and then when I come to need one, I can just go and unpin it. So that was my storage solution, really, for storing those little, you know, streamers. I wasn't even calling them the right name. Those fabric streamers that we made, that was my plan for those. Yeah, I probably don't really need to show you, because as I say, I've only pinned one up on my notice board at the moment. But that's, you know, that wasn't my preferred solution. My preferred solution is on a wooden hanger, because then I can just literally have that hung over my door handle And I just thought that would be perfect, because at the moment, if I just show you, oops, sorry. At the moment, all I've done is bulldog clipped them all together. So not a brilliant solution, but what I'm proposing to do, if I show you, is take these drawing pins and obviously then along a wooden hanger, just pin these along, all along a wooden hanger. So that's my storage solution. And, you know, as I always say, I mean, you guys are so clever and ingenious, to be honest. Probably tons of you have got much better solution ideas and, you know, storage suggestions than I have. So that was just my idea for how to store them. But yeah, you've probably got better ideas, to be honest. But it's just because there was a comment saying, how would I store them? And at that point, I hadn't really come up with a solution for storage. So I've only just recently, you know, thought actually that would be the best way to store them. So I will keep you posted when I finally get some wooden hangers, because hopefully then they're going to be, you know, really, they're going to look really cute. I know that's not the idea, it's really just for storage, but I just thought they would look very sweet with all those streamers hanging off of a hanger, to be honest. Right, there we go. So that was significantly quicker doing it with the sturdier envelopes. I've got some white ones here, which again, I think these are flimsier than those craft coloured envelopes. So we'll see how I get on with these. These ones might be much worse. You know, much fiddlier. So we'll see. Okay. I'll slide that in. So my daughter said this morning, oh mummy, I've got a sore throat, I don't want to go to school today. So I knew that I wanted to get this mass making video done. And I mean, I do video with her, obviously, you know, when she's around sometimes. But to be honest, not probably these mass making ones, because I really like to relax when I'm doing these and just be chatty and, you know, having a nice time. And, you know, with the best will in the world, my daughter is, you know, she's very good when I say that I'm doing a video, but I can't really fully relax. So, yeah, I was just like, oh, I'm sure you'll be fine. Once you get to school, you'll forget all about it and you'll be feeling fine. So far, so good. I haven't had any calls from the school or anything. Yeah, this was much more fiddly. And hence, I've now not really lined this up properly. But again, it doesn't really matter too much, because all I'll do, if I need to, is just trim this little bit down. Yeah, so far so good. So hopefully she's, well, I mean, hopefully as well, she's not feeling ill, but yeah, hopefully I don't get a call. Okay. I mean, I genuinely think, you know, unless you're feeling really poorly, the best thing is really just go and you know, get on with things, because genuinely I think once you're out and about, you know, you forget that you're not even feeling great, and you know, you start feeling sort of, well, I not necessarily start feeling better, but I just think you do forget all about it. So, you know, I genuinely do think she will feel better from being at school. If she was at home, she'd just be dwelling on it and you know, then sort of possibly feeling more poorly, when really she's not feeling that poorly, but she's just then dwelling on it and therefore thinks she is. Right, I've got here, I'm just reaching around seeing what other scraps that I've got laying around that are on copy sort of thickness. What are these ones? I've got here some of my Memory Lane, and then on the back they've got some of my vintage Viola. So have a look. I'll just use this one. So again, just do those little flaps. Like that. Okay. Oops. And then this side. And then right the way across. Okay. It's my son's parents' evening tonight, my middle son. Okay. So hopefully that will be okay. I mean, generally, well, not generally, they always have been okay. But obviously he's 13 now, so it's at this age where if they're going to deteriorate, it might be now, I suppose. So let's hope he's not deteriorated. He's been picking his options for his exams, you know, for his GCSEs. I don't know what they would be called in other parts of the world, but you know, these are his like final exams, I guess maybe you would call them. I don't know what you would call them in other parts of the world, but you know, I guess this is what you're building to all those years at school. So they take options and then they study. I mean, obviously they continue to just study other subjects, but they then also study those particular subjects that they've picked as their options in, I guess, a bit more detail. So yeah, we've been picking those. And it's actually a shame because when you start reading through the brochure or the leaflet, you know, the booklet, and I can remember thinking this with my eldest son as well, loads of the topics and the subjects sound so interesting that you really are very torn, you know, and kind of think, oh, what a shame, you know, that you can't pick more, because a lot of them sound really, you know, really fun and really interesting. So it's hard to whittle it down and narrow it down, but by the time that you take out the compulsory things, you know, there's not so much to choose from, which is a shame. Anyway, I think he's decided on food tech, which is great because this is my middle son and he's really great in the kitchen. So you know, I wouldn't be that surprised if he ends up sort of as a chef or something. So food tech and business is the other one. So yeah, I did say when he said food tech was, I hope this is not going to be a mistake, you know, where then suddenly at, you know, 7 o'clock on the morning, you're going to suddenly be saying each time, oh no, Mum, I need, you know, X, Y, Z, all these weird ingredients that we don't actually have in our house, and it will lead to a panic of trying to quickly rush and go to the supermarket on the day of the lesson. He's assured me that's not going to be the case. We'll see. We'll see whether that turns out to be the case or not. But yeah, but I'm pleased that he's taken that because I think he will really, you know, really enjoy it. So, and I mean, I don't know because I didn't take food tech. I mean, it wasn't called food tech when I was at school. It was called home economics, but I didn't take that when I was at school. You know, I did it in like the 1 year for the one term or whatever that you do it for, but I didn't take it as an option. But I mean, I think when we were at school, it literally would have just been cooking, literally just cooking, I think. I mean, obviously, as I say, I didn't take it, so I can't definitely swear by that, but it now sounds really interesting because obviously it's now more you know, they're learning about nutrition, you know, kind of how to have a healthy, balanced diet. So it's much more than just the cooking aspect. It's actually, you know, how to get your nutrients and all of that kind of stuff. So even if he didn't have a career in food, they're definitely going to be really useful skills and knowledge to have sort of for his life, basically. So yeah, really it sounded really interesting. So, and lots of the subjects I think seem to overlap quite a bit actually now. I mean, not that that necessarily did, but you know, there's some that seemed like they would have a natural overlap with another subject. I can't think offhand now what, but yeah, they all sounded really interesting, and I thought, oh, it's a bit of a struggle to narrow it down actually, because so many sound so interesting. Right, deciding now what to put here. Hold on. I'm trying to ideally keep these as neutral as possible, so that then when I come to use them, I've hopefully got as many options as possible. Let's have a look, see what else I have here. Got this. I could use there. That's quite nice, isn't it? Should we do that, or shall we have more of the sheet music? I've got another bit that's big enough. Oh, just about. But that's not going to be big enough again going the other way. So let me just rummage and see whether I've got more. Oh, don't know whether I have. I probably have, but it's obviously buried here. So far, I just can't actually see it. You know, you get to the point where you just can't find anything. But I still do love having all this rubbish everywhere. I'm not complaining. I still love it. It's still a winning thing for me to have all this rubbish everywhere. Right, I'm just looking. Oh, that's so annoying. No. Right. Let's have a U-turn then and do a different, you know, paper altogether. So I've got this Dawn Mist actually. Let's have some of that. This is one that I've printed borderless, and actually I'm not going to use that because that's actually 200 GSM. So I've gone from like copy paper to really, really thick paper. So yeah, I'm not going to use that. Do you know what I do have is actually I have a few of my collage pages which I haven't used, if you see what I mean. They're my collage page originals that I used to create my digis. So I've got this one, which is my Go Gently, which actually would be perfect for doing this. So I think I'm going to do that. Did I actually glue those bits down? No, I didn't. Just spotted the time again. This is now like last week again. Up to 48 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I knew when I was doing these that they were a time-consuming fiddly thing for me. Again, I'm not saying that they are for everybody. You know, they really might not be, but for me, they are definitely a time-consuming fiddly one. And yeah, we're now up to 48 minutes. I don't think we've made overly many. I don't know how many I've made. I'll have a look in a minute. But the time has just whizzed away, and now here we are, not really achieved so very much. So just going to pop that down there like that. So this is the original collage page, the piece I actually collaged to make the digi collage. So excuse the back. Again, that was obviously, you know, where I've been doing my printing of digis, trying to get them right. So we'll just trim that down there. I mean, it doesn't matter, I've trimmed into that envelope slightly because obviously we're going to be trimming that down anyway, but Oh, I love that. That's really, really nice. So then I'm just going to obviously pop this side here. Oh, I love how this looks. It's gorgeous. What a great way to use those collage pages as well. Now, did anyone else see the video by Rachel doing that collagey, snippety roll thing? I think she said it was Carol Law's original idea, and oh my gosh, it was so clever. I'm going to have a go at it. So I might come and share it with you guys, doing my take on it. It was just so clever. She literally was using book pages and collaging straight onto them, and then each time that a page ran out, or you know, was full of collage, she just grabbed another page and glued it on. And then the concept is, and admittedly, you know, I didn't see it get rolled up, but I'm sure she said Carol had said you would store it then in a roll, which I just thought was so cool. I mean, I'm not sure whether mine would roll up really well, because I think, oh, those bits will be sort of sticking out and coming off the collage. So I don't know whether Carol had, on her video, possibly done one showing it rolled up, because I'd be interested to see that. I mean, if I just show you, so this is the original collage. If I were to roll this now, do you see what I mean? Some of my bits where they're not quite stuck down at the edges. I mean, I guess that's fine. I don't know whether if I rolled it inwards, whether that would be less of a problem. Yeah, maybe that would be better, rolling it in. Anyway, I don't know whether you guys saw it. It was such a cool video, and I just thought, oh, yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it looked really super fun to try. So I may have to give it a go. But yeah, worth checking out. And as I say, I haven't seen Carol's, but I'm sure that would be equally as fun to check out as well. So I love that one. That's probably my favourite one, I have to say. Really, really love that. Right, up to 52 minutes, would you believe? Right, how many have we done? Not many. So we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6. Oh, that was abysmal, wasn't it? We've only done 6. Never mind. So what I'm going to do is quickly decorate one up with you guys. So for instance, this one, you know, if you weren't going to actually glue this in, you may want to have this just as a pull-out piece in a journal, which would, you know, also be really, really nice. So all I'm going to do is decorate it up slightly. So where's all my background pages now? Oh no. It's such a nightmare, isn't it? You bring things along and then I put them down, and no sooner have I put them down, I can't find them again. Ah. Nope, I'm now struggling to find anything here. Right, hang on. I might have some bits here to the side, so just bear with me for a couple of moments. What have I got here? What have I got? Nothing's really jumping out at me, weirdly enough. So I'm just going to pull this one in, and maybe we'll do something with this. So obviously I want to, you know, do something on the cover, which actually, I wonder if I should just do the cover with the sheet music. Let's do that. So I'm just going to do the cover with the sheet music. I'm going to try and go as quick as I can, because I couldn't believe how long that mass making video was last week, and even worse was then the cover of the ring bound journal, if you call that one. So yeah, I'm going to try and really rush this, because I don't want to now just take up everybody's entire day. But it's very difficult sometimes. You just are so busy in the mode crafting that you just don't notice, and time just whizzes by, you know, before you've even realised. So So I'm just going to cut that down like that, and then we'll just trim it down on the side as well. Okie dokie. And then just pop this one on the back. Okay. Haven't been to the cinema at all this week, so that's a bit of a shame. There was the David Copperfield film that I really wouldn't have minded seeing, but it was on at silly times. I couldn't fit it anywhere because it was either smack bang, you know, school run time, smack bang CrossFit, or, you know, all those other things. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame. So, because I would have quite liked to have seen it, and I don't know how much it's going to be on after that, or after now. So I might not get to see that, which is a shame because it looked really good. I mean, it's actually, on the trailer it said hilarious. I'm not sure whether it would have been hilarious, but that's what the trailer said, so, you know, maybe it would. Right, there's that piece. Now, let me bring in my book page. My scruffy book pages that I'm leaning on to, I was going to say not make a mess of my desk, but look at how messy they are. To do my inking and things is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to ink around this a little bit. This is my very juicy ink pad, so try and go a bit lighter with that than I did that first time the other day when I opened it and completely forgot that it was a new one. And my gosh, was my stuff inked or what? Oh, it's another really horrible rainy day here. Obviously I'm filming this ahead again, so it might not be rainy when this actually goes up. So yeah, but horrible and grey and raining. We'd been really lucky. We'd had loads of those really, really freezing but sunny, glorious days. You know, quite a run of them. I love it when it's like that. So in fairness, we're kind of like due some grey, dismal days, I guess. But yeah, I definitely prefer those bright, sunny ones. Even if they're really, really cold, it's so much nicer, isn't it? Again, I need a new ink pad. Gosh, I go through these ink pads like anybody's business, honestly. I need to get some of those inky brushes that I've seen other people using, because maybe they'd be better. Oops. Okay. I have set up my Amazon affiliate page, by the way, now on my website. So if you want to check out anything, you know, that you think, oh, what's that she's using, have a look. You know, I'm trying to make sure that I've put it in my links, but if I haven't, then if you just message me sort of at my shop, and then I can add things to my affiliate pages, you know, if I can, if I've bought them certainly from Amazon, I can hopefully then link them on there so that you guys can see what I'm using. Because I know I've said this before, you know, sometimes people might mention something, and then when I go on to look, there might be sort of 3 or 4 different ones or different brands, and I'm never quite sure then what it is that people are meaning. So for me, I like to know that I'm getting the exact, you know, right one. So yeah, just let me know if I'm a bit slack and forget that. Oops. All these things take time, don't they, to you know, set up your links, to, you know, obviously I'm trying to do my website a bit, but I mean, obviously it's a slow process because I'm having to sort of teach myself as I go. So when I finally set up some of my Amazon links, obviously that took me a fair amount of time to work out how to do it. Again, you know, thank goodness for YouTube that I was able to actually have a look and see what, you know, how to do it. But yeah, otherwise you just wasting endless time sometimes, you know, trying to find out how to do things. I might put that there. So I'm just literally just putting a couple of bits on here, just, you know, just to give you some ideas. Let's just pop this one down. Okay. Strangely, I might have that flower up there. I always would put things down the bottom. And actually, sometimes you've got to mix it up, haven't you? Just for a change. Right. Oh, we're now at 1 hour, 1 minute. So, right, I'm going to leave it there. So, of course, that's not fully decorated, you know. I would definitely add more stuff to that. But I just wanted to obviously give you an idea of the types of things. And then obviously, you know, inside, you could obviously put some pockets on here. You could put some pockets, you know, running down. You could put some extra pages in. Or, of course, you can now stitch this into a signature. I mean, I haven't really got anything that I can demonstrate, but I have got a couple of folded over pieces of paper. So I just show you. So you would just slot this in amongst your other pages like that, and then you could stitch that into your journal. So that's kind of another way to use it. But of course, if you didn't want it like that, you could just have it as a pull-out piece and clip it onto the side of a page. So they're really super cute. So again, I want to just say thanks so much to Amy for a genius idea. And yeah, I hope that you managed to get some done. Obviously for me, I found them quite time consuming, but yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it and join me again next time. Thanks then. Bye.